Everyone is speaking out about this. The Bengals were just named by PFF one of the most overlooked teams of 2025. Despite the drama and ongoing situation with contract talks, we're going to discuss why PFF named them as an overlooked team, and as a Bengals fan, we have much to look forward to. Welcome to the jungle. I'm Isaac Coffman with Bengals Digest. So happy to see you, and if you want to be up to date on all things Bengals, be sure, if you are not already, to hit that subscribe button. We want to hear from you. This offseason has been full of drama. It's been full of all kinds of headline news. We want to hear your thoughts and your take on all things Bengals. So just recently, PFF named Bengals as one of the most overlooked teams of 2025. That is incredible to think about. There's so much talk of Trey Hendrickson, of Shamar Stewart, all these things that, as a Bengals fan, you're just faced with frustration of what is going to happen with this team going into the season. There's so much distraction. There's so much of a question mark about this defense as it is. They had so many struggles last year, and you have that dominating the headlines. Despite all that, PFF still says the Bengals are a feared team. They are going to be dangerous, something to look out for, as they might be overlooked. And it goes into more details of why. As Bengals fans, we understand there is a lot of talent on this team. There was so much potential last year, and that is exactly what it goes on to say and explain, because, again, what's been on the headlines? It's been Trey Hendrickson. It's been Shamar Stewart. We're probably sick of hearing it, but Trey Hendrickson led the league in sacks. So losing a player like that, if he does sit out, it makes sense. This is why. He went on, this is Dalton Wasserman from PFF. He explained that they're going to be an overlooked team because of all this drama. It's like people continue to forget about that Cincinnati lost 7 of its 11 games by 1 score. Think about that. 7 of those. And he goes on to explain that realistically, there was a handful of plays. If they would have went the other way, they would have one of the best records in football last year. It makes a lot of sense when you think about it. We can play the game of what ifs, right? It's understandable to look at, well, if they did this, if they did that, but they were so close, despite the struggles of that defense. We can break down the numbers. The defense was ranked 20 and 29 to like 30. It was at the bottom. And also, if you think about that offense, you have Joe Burrow, you have T. Higgins, you have Jamar Chase. They had, it goes on to say, 29th in pass blocking. My goodness, how are they able to put up those numbers despite that offensive line? That was another struggle last year. We can put the focus on the defense, certainly, but there was also struggles on that offensive line. And to be ranked that low, but still put up those points, that just speaks volumes, again, of what you have in Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. So it's going to come down to, can the Bengals put it together? That's the big question mark. PFF believes that they can do it. And this is going to be a lot here. So let's break this down. It goes on to explain why they can put it together. Why, again, they're going to be this overlooked team. So pace yourself. We're going to break this down. There's a lot to unpack here of what he went on to say, but this is what the comments show. It says, again, from Dalton Wasserman of PFF, aside from Burrow throwing lasers all over the field to Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, the Bengals didn't have many avenues to victory. Yet those 3 players are so good that the team managed to win 9 games and just barely finish outside the AFC playoff picture in 2024. The Bengals can't afford an extended absence from any of their offensive trifecta, but they are extremely dangerous when all 3 players are on the field. The offensive line is certainly still a concern, but Burrow does mitigate that by making extremely quick decisions. He doesn't have control over a defense that struggled last season and is dealing with Trey Hendrickson's ongoing tense contract negotiations. However, the defense played well during the team's 5-game winning streak to end the season, ranking 5th in the NFL in PFF grade as a unit from week 14 to week 18. Okay, lots to unpack here, but they acknowledge there's going to be a flaw to this team. You've got a defense that has some question marks. You've got the Trey Hendrickson. We're going to bring that up until this gets resolved. It is a hot topic. It is going to be a hot topic. But go back to what he said at the beginning. You have Joe Burrow, despite that offensive line, able to make quick decisions. You have Jamar Chase, arguably the best receiver in football. You have T. Higgins, who you were able to lock up. There was question marks of, are they going to re-sign T. Higgins? You got him in-house. You've got Mike Gesicki. You've got weapons. So as long as they are going to be able to even put out the same kind of production from last year, this is going to be a scary team. And despite all that, you're going to have your struggles. You're going to have, again, this defense with so many question marks going on. It's going to come back to Al Golden. Can Al Golden put this team in a position to at least be an improvement? And that's not a big ask. I'm just being frank. The defense, it struggled last year. Let's just be frank about that. It pointed out towards the end of the season, they were starting to put it together. PFF rated the defense higher towards the end of the season. But the pressure's on. They replaced Lou Anarumo. They also replaced the offensive line, Scott Peters. So you could look at those guys and say, all these coaches that they've brought in other assistant coaches. Al Golden is still going to be the one that's going to have the spotlight on him because the defense struggled so mightily last year. It's going to come down to, can he get the most out of his players? Can he get the most out of Cam Taylor-Britt, who also struggled? He was a big player that struggled that they were counting on, and other players as well. You have Geno Stone, who was supposed to come in at that safety position, and he struggled. It just seemed like all the players were struggling all at the same time, and it was a ripple effect. So again, can he get the most out of his players? That's going to be the big question mark. If he can excel just even a step or two up, and Joe Burrow and that offense can just put even the similar production, and that is a big ask. Let's just be honest. Let's be frank. We can't expect Joe Burrow to go out there and put up MVP numbers like he did last year every single year. But if he can come close, you got to know that despite that offensive line, that's remarkable. That's just, I can't get over that fact that how much that offensive line struggled, they still were putting up around 30 points a game. That shows you what Joe Burrow can do for you. So in return, they're going to need to get the defense in line. They're going to have to get that offensive line worked out as well. And PFF recognized that. Again, in those comments, they're still acknowledging it. They're not turning a blind eye to the flaws the Bengals have. This is a far from perfect team. But that's got to get you excited. That's got to encourage you that they still are going to rank them as an overlooked team. And I actually agree with that. Zach Taylor has this locker room lined up, despite all the distractions. We've talked about it over and over again. These contract negotiations, that's the front office. Zach Taylor can't handle that. He can only handle what players are at camp, who are showing up and putting the work in. Again, say what you want about Zach Taylor. I will still give him a lot of respect and credit for having that locker room where it needs to be. The guys seem to really play for each other. They play for Zach Taylor, and that's what you got to have. You got to have the chemistry on a team if you want to go far in the playoffs. So despite all the struggles that the defense had last year, let's see what Al Golden can do. It's got to get you at least a little bit encouraged to see that they put the players that they have in-house in a position to win with the new coaches. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to see what this team can do in 2025, despite all the distractions, despite all of the flaws. We can talk all day at length. But at the end of the day, if you're hearing reports like this from PFF of all places, that should get you a little bit hyped. Again, it remains to be seen. Stay tuned, but let's go. We want to hear from you guys, though. What do you think this Bengal team is potentially going to do? Do you think that despite the flaws of this defense, all the distractions we've been dealing with in the offseason, they're still going to make the playoffs or beyond? We want to hear from you. Comment below your thoughts, and if you have not already, remember to subscribe so you'll be up to date when all of our new videos drop. That's going to do it for now. As we say, Hoo day.